It was supposed to be a relaxed, light-hearted morning chat, but things took an unexpected turn when Hollywood icon George Clooney appeared on Lorraine Kelly's live show to promote his latest political drama. What began as casual conversation soon spiraled into one of the most talked about interviews of the year. Lorraine, known for her friendly charm and calm demeanor, opened the segment warmly. "George, it's always a pleasure to have you. You're looking as handsome as ever," she said with her trademark laugh. Clooney smiled, clearly at ease at first. "Well, thank you, Lorraine. It's good to be back, though I think the last time I was here, we were talking about coffee commercials, not global politics." The audience chuckled, and everything seemed fine. But as the conversation shifted toward Clooney's outspoken political opinions and his criticism of the British press, Lorraine's tone subtly changed. "So, George," she began carefully, "you've been quite vocal lately, some people say a little too vocal, about British media and politics. Do you ever worry that maybe you're stepping out of your lane as an actor?" Clooney's smile faded slightly. "Out of my lane? Lorraine, I think anyone has the right to speak up when something feels wrong, especially when misinformation affects millions." Lorraine nodded politely, but pressed further. "Yes, but some critics feel celebrities use their platforms irresponsibly. You've made some strong remarks about the government, even calling it, quote, a circus of privilege. Isn't that a bit harsh?" That's when the tension began to crackle. Clooney leaned forward. "You know, Lorraine, what's harsh is seeing injustice and staying silent. I'm not here to play it safe. I've seen enough of the world to know when power's being abused." The live audience shifted uncomfortably. Lorraine tried to keep things light. "Of course, George, but don't you think British viewers might prefer their morning tea without a political sermon?" Clooney raised an eyebrow. "If people only want to hear easy things, Lorraine, maybe the problem isn't me talking, maybe it's what they're not willing to listen to." Gasps were heard from behind the cameras. Lorraine's smile tightened. "Well, we certainly don't want to upset anyone on breakfast television," she said, glancing at her producer nervously. But Clooney wasn't done. "Sometimes people should be upset, Lorraine. Change doesn't come from comfort. You invite guests to talk honestly, so let's be honest." At that point, the atmosphere turned electric. The producers began flashing red signals, urging Lorraine to move on. Still, she tried to regain control. "George, I appreciate your passion, but this is a family show. Let's not turn it into a debate club." Clooney leaned back, clearly irritated. "If you don't want a debate, maybe don't ask loaded questions." That was it. Lorraine's patience finally snapped. "Excuse me, but I'm doing my job, George. You're the one raising your voice." Clooney laughed sharply. "Maybe because I'm tired of the same old media routine, smiling faces asking safe questions while the world burns." Viewers at home began posting on social media in real time. Hashtags like #ClooneyVs Lorraine and #MorningShowMeltdown started trending within minutes. Lorraine's producer could be seen whispering urgently in her earpiece. "We're cutting this short," she said under her breath, still smiling for the camera. "Thank you, George, for joining us. We'll be right back after the break." But before the screen faded, Clooney's mic picked up one last remark. "Maybe next time, try asking something that matters." The feed abruptly cut to commercials. When the show returned, George Clooney was gone from the studio, escorted out quietly by staff. According to reports later that morning, Lorraine tried to continue the program as if nothing had happened, but her visibly flushed face told another story. By noon, entertainment blogs across the UK and the US were buzzing. Some sided with Clooney, calling him brave for speaking his truth. Others criticized him for being disrespectful to a beloved host. Lorraine's team released a short statement claiming there had been a misunderstanding during a passionate discussion. Clooney's publicist, however, remained silent, fueling speculation that the star had no regrets about what he said. And yet, behind the scenes, one crew member later revealed, "You could feel it, George wasn't angry for fame or ego. He genuinely believed what he said." But Lorraine, she felt ambushed. No one expected that a simple morning interview would turn into an international headline. But as one journalist tweeted that afternoon, the morning after the explosive interview, the internet was ablaze. News outlets across Britain and America ran the same headline: "George Clooney walks off Lorraine Kelly's show after heated clash." Clips of the tense exchange flooded social media. Some called it entertainment gold, while others said it was the most uncomfortable 5 minutes in British TV history. Lorraine Kelly arrived at ITV studios early that morning, visibly tired but determined. She knew that as much as she wanted to ignore what happened, she couldn't. The producers had already decided, they were going to address the incident on air. As the opening credits rolled, Lorraine took a deep breath. The camera light flashed red. "Good morning," she began softly. "Before we start today's show, I just want to take a moment to address what happened yesterday with George Clooney." The studio went silent. Lorraine continued, "Sometimes, emotions run high. We all care deeply about our views and the world around us. I have nothing but respect for George and his passion. It was an intense moment, but I wish him all the best." She smiled politely, but anyone watching closely could tell she was still shaken. Twitter exploded again. Half the viewers praised her professionalism, the other half accused her of damage control. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, George Clooney was staying at his countryside home near Lake Como, Italy. His team urged him to stay quiet, but George couldn't resist responding. That evening, he released a short video message that instantly went viral. "Greater than, I've always believed that conversations, even uncomfortable ones, are how change begins," Clooney said, seated in front of his library. "I wasn't angry at Lorraine. I was frustrated at how entertainment sometimes overshadows truth. If that makes me the bad guy, I'll wear it." The clip was calm, sincere, and powerfully delivered. Within hours, the tide of public opinion began to shift. Celebrities like Emma Watson, Benedict Cumberbatch, and even Amal Clooney reposted his message, praising his honesty. Lorraine, however, wasn't impressed. During an off-air conversation with producers, she was heard saying, "He made me look like a fool on my own show." The tension grew behind the scenes, not just between her and Clooney, but within ITV itself. Producers sensed an opportunity. Ratings had skyrocketed since the clash, and they wanted more. One of them pitched a bold idea: invite George Clooney back for a follow-up interview, live, uncensored, and unscripted. Lorraine was horrified at first. "You want me to sit across from the man who humiliated me on national television?" she asked. But as the days went on, and the #ClooneyvsLorraine hashtag kept trending, she realized it might be the only way to reclaim her control of the narrative. After a week of consideration, she agreed, on one condition: she would lead the conversation, not follow it. When ITV announced that George Clooney would return to Lorraine for a clear-the-air conversation, the internet lost its mind. Viewers from around the world marked their calendars. Memes, bets, and fan predictions flooded social media. The morning of the interview arrived. The air in the studio was electric. Lorraine wore a bold red suit, a statement of strength. Clooney walked in calmly, shaking hands with the crew. Their eyes met briefly, both masking nerves behind polite smiles. As cameras rolled, Lorraine began, "George, I'll admit, I didn't think I'd be saying this so soon, but welcome back." Clooney chuckled. "Glad to be here, I promise to behave this time." The audience laughed softly, easing the tension. Lorraine nodded, then got serious. "Last time, things got intense. I think both of us said things that didn't come out right." Clooney leaned forward. "You were doing your job, Lorraine. And maybe I was doing mine, speaking up." Lorraine smiled faintly. "Fair enough. But you must know, live television can be tricky. I wasn't trying to silence you, I was just trying to keep things appropriate for the audience." George nodded. "I understand. And maybe I could have been a little less fiery. But you asked tough questions, and I respect that." The crowd applauded softly. It felt like closure. But then Lorraine surprised everyone. "Still," she said, glancing at him sharply, "you did storm out and leave me with a commercial break and no guest. That wasn't very gentlemanly, was it?" Clooney grinned. "No, it wasn't. But in my defense, I thought your producer was about to throw me out anyway." Everyone laughed, even Lorraine. The tension broke completely. As the interview went on, they spoke candidly about fame, politics, and accountability. It wasn't the typical morning chat, it was raw, honest, and oddly heartwarming. George admitted he had overreacted. Lorraine admitted she'd underestimated how deeply he cared about his causes. By the end, Lorraine extended her hand. "No hard feelings." "None at all," Clooney said, shaking it. "Though next time, let's stick to coffee commercials." The studio erupted in laughter and applause. Later that day, media outlets praised the reunion. The Guardian called it a masterclass in reconciliation, while the Daily Mail dubbed it the interview that redeemed morning television. For Lorraine, the ordeal became a reminder that even in chaos, professionalism wins. For George, it proved that honesty, even messy honesty, could still connect people in a divided world. As the credits rolled that morning, Lorraine looked into the camera and said with a playful smile,